Okay guys, welcome to assignment 5 video. This video will cover tutorial 3 part 1 and part 2, so you might see some concepts which you haven't been explained yet if you're watching this video earlier. So just follow this video to finish your assignment, or just follow this video until you understand, and then just wait for tutorial 3 part 2, and then you can finish off the remaining assignment. Anyway, the due date for this assignment is June 29th, so you have 2 weeks. So I'm gonna start doing the assignment 5 video. I'm just gonna follow the textbook instructions, and I'm gonna start doing the assignment video. So assignment 5 actually. So the first thing you need to do is go to tutorial 3. I'm gonna go to enter student preview mode, so it's better that way. So go to content, go to tutorial 3, and there's an assignment 5 posted over there, and there is a starter zip file. Download that zip file, right, show in folder, and then it's gonna bring up your file explorer. Oops, right there. Right there, and I'm gonna copy that file which I downloaded, go to desktop, and I'm gonna save it in the web 110 folder right there. And then I'm gonna create a new folder right here, and I'm gonna name it as assignment 5, and I'm gonna paste the files right there. I'm gonna right click on that thing and click extract here. So once I click OK, then it's gonna extract all the contents right there. See, it created a new folder called Pandaisia chocolate starting files, PC starting files. In there you will see all these files right here. So we're gonna edit these files, and then that's what you're gonna submit basically. So let's start editing. So the first one is to set the initial dimensions of the page. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to pc underscore home dot css. So we're gonna go to pc underscore home dot css. Just checking where that file is. Right there, right click, and gonna edit with notepad plus plus. Okay, and that's the pc underscore home dot css files. You'll see the commented outed sections. So now let's see what we're gonna do here. So first we're gonna set some rules for body. So under body styles, we're gonna open up body, open curly braces, close curly braces. We're gonna set max and min width. So maximum width, maximum width is 960 pix, 960. Let me zoom in. I hope you guys can see it better right now. So max width 960 pix, and the minimum width is 640 pix, and we're gonna set width width 95%. Okay, now within the body header style section, we're gonna insert a display and a width for the image. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do body header section img. If you need explanations on what I'm doing right here, you can read the textbooks. The page number readings are already given to you on blackboard, and all the all the explanation, the overview of all the text which I'm using is given to you. I think it's already explained to you in tutorial videos, so if you want more information regarding that, you can watch the tutorial videos. So body header and display, we are using contextual pattern basically to select body header image, and we're going to display it as a block, and then we're going to set width of it to 100%. Okay, now we're gonna add margin left and margin right, and we'll set it to auto to align everything inside the body to center, horizontally center all the elements. So margin left to auto, then we're gonna set margin right to auto, and then let's save this. Okay, file, save to save it. Once you saved it, let's run the PC HTML PC home.html. So this is how it looks once you did the changes. And then we will go back to PC home.css file, which is right there. And here we're gonna make some changes to body, header, navigation, control, list items. So in order to do that, we're gonna go to this section, body style section right there, actually body header section, which is right here. And here we're gonna type body header nav, which is a tag dot horizontal navigation, which stands for the class name, horizontal navigation space li. Again, it's a contextual selector. I'm selecting the nav. Inside the nav tag, I'm selecting the nav tag with a class name horizontal navigation, and I'm selecting a li list item inside it, and I'm setting up the list item width to 20%. Okay, now we're gonna insert another style rule for navigation horizontal style. So I'm gonna put that in the horizontal navigation style section, which is nav dot horizontal navigation list, and then we're gonna display this as block, and I'm gonna float it to left. Okay, now file, save. Now once you save it, let's run the let's check the modifications which we did. Okay, if you look at closely, all the modifications whatever doing is not getting applied here, so that means we have to open up PC underscore home HTML, edit with Notepad++. If you look at it, it's missing link href tags linking the style sheets. So I'm gonna link the style sheets right here, link href, and then PC underscore home dot css, and I'm gonna put a relation style sheet. It's an empty tag, close and save. Once I saved it, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna refresh it. See, now it's applied, everything is center aligned, and so the styling got applied right now. So let's go back to the style sheet. Okay, before going to the style sheet, we have to set some PC reset.css style sheet. So I'm gonna open up PC underscore reset.css. Under here, we're gonna set some article comma aside commas. I'm setting up default styles for all these tags. So fig caption comma figure figure comma footer comma header. So I'm selecting all this. So let me zoom in. I think you guys can see it better right now. So this is what I entered in. I'm doing it in Notepad instead of Notepad++. So header comma main comma nav comma section. So I'm setting up all this, the default layout for all this to be block. Okay, so I'm putting display block for all these. And the next one is we're gonna set up some typographic styles. So under typographic styles, we're gonna put address comma article comma aside comma blockout comma body comma site comma div comma dl comma dt comma space dd comma space em comma space. I'm going to create a new line, too many in one that line, and then fig caption comma space figu figure comma space footer comma space h1 comma space h2 comma space h3 comma space h4 comma space h5 comma space h6 comma space header comma space html comma space img comma space, create a new line, too many in one line, li comma space main comma space nav comma space ol ordered list comma space p comma space section comma space span comma space ul. Okay, open curly braces, close curly braces. Inside it we're gonna set the background to transparent, and we're gonna set font size to 100%. Actually font dash size to 100%, and margin to 0, and then we're gonna set padding to 0, and then we're gonna set vertical alignment, so vertical vertical align to baseline, and then we're also going to set some basic navigation rules inside the typographic styles for a reset style sheet. So here we're gonna set nav space ul, so navigation for unordered list, open curly braces, close curly braces. We're gonna type in list style none, and then we're gonna type list style dash image, and we're gonna use the image none, so no markers and no images. And then we're gonna set up navigation a tags, and then we're gonna set text decoration to none, so text dash decoration to none. And then we're gonna set body line height, so body, and inside it we're gonna set line height to 1. So these are all the defaults which gets applied to avoid browser controlling the styling. So once you do that, you're gonna go to file and you're gonna click on save. So now it saves pc reset.css file. Remember, I edited pc underscore reset.css file. Okay, so once that's saved, close it, and now right click on pc underscore home, click on edit with notepad plus plus, and then you'll go to pc underscore. Remember, we already added link href tag for pc home.css. Now we're gonna add a couple more style sheets to this page. So we're gonna add link href equals to, just zooming in a bit more, so pc underscore reset we just created .css, and we're gonna put relation style sheet. And remember guys, I'm not gonna tell you every single assignment. You have to fill these things up. You should know it by now how to fill the comment section. Okay, pc underscore reset.css. Now I'm gonna copy the same link href. I'm gonna copy the same link href tag. Okay, and then press enter, control V. Now this time it's not pc reset, it's pc styles1.css. We're gonna add all these three style sheet. Okay, styles1.css. So file, save. Okay, now go back to the browser, open up the web page and refresh it. Once it's refreshed, this is how it looks. Okay, so now go back to the starting files, and this time you're gonna open up pc underscore home.css. So that one, right click, edit with notepad plus plus, it's gonna open up that. And in here, right after navigation horizontal list item, you're gonna add one more styling, which is nav dot horizontal. Let me zoom in. Nav dot horizontal navigation. This is a class name. Again, I'm using contextual pattern a. So I'm selecting a tags and I'm going to display the a tags as block, and then I'm going to set text align to center. Okay, now we're going to save the changes, file, save, go back and refresh. So we edited the navigation list a tags and made it align to center. Okay, but the issue is it has to be aligned. The float left didn't got applied to it, so I'm going to go back to the CSS file. Nope, close this. I'm going to go back to the CSS file which I just finished right now. I'm going to check the float left option right here. So see, I made a spelling mistake right there. So horizontal. Okay, so that's what it has to be. File, save, and go back to the browser, and I'm going to refresh it. Now it's floated left and everything is aligned to the center. Okay, and it has a width of 20% per each. Okay, and there is one issue right here. The issue is the menu background color isn't matching up, so I'm going to go back and check. So here is the width. Where is the width? Is 20%. So hori, HORI, ZONTAL, navigation, NAVIGATION, and list item. This is good. So nav horizontal navigation list, which is good. Horizontal. So there is a problem, which is a navigation, capital N. Okay, then file, save, and then go back to the browser right there and refresh it. Now you can see the navigation is configured properly. So now we're going to move on to the next step. So we're going to go to home.css file again right here, and then this time we're going to go to left column styles, and here we're going to do section hashtag left column column, open curly braces, close curly braces. We're going to use clear property here. So the clear property, you already know what it does. I already showed you an example in the tutorial. So we're going to use the clear property and set it to left, and we're going to float this element to the left margin by typing float left, and then we're going to set the width to 33%. Okay, I'm going to save that change, and then we're going to do some right column styles too. So we're going to do section hashtag right column, open curly braces, close curly braces, float left. So we're going to float that thing to left, and we're going to set the width to 67%. I'm going to set that width to 67%. Okay, now save this. So now you save the CSS. We're going to look at the changes right now, whatever we did. Okay, once we saved it, we go back to the thing. So right now what we did is we created two sections, one left section, one right section. So left section is that, right sections are these images. So let's see, if I refresh it, see the left section floated to left, and this is the right section. The images and all the other images are floated to the right. Okay, we haven't done that, we haven't finished it yet. We have to make it look nice. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create some more styling roles for the right column styling. So if you go to the right column title, right column styling section, you're gonna put section hashtag right column setting, and then img. So we're going to configure some image sizing. So we're going to display it as block first thing. So we're going to set the width to 100%. So I'm going to click file, save, and then we're also going to create another style for section hashtag right column column. I'm going to type nav to select the navigation, and I'm using horizontal navigation, li list item, and this I'm going to set the width to 25%. Okay, now let's save this file, save, go back to the browser, refresh it. So now if you look at this, we created a float item, and we created this, and we set the width to 25% by setting that horizontal width to 25%, and we set this right column to 67%. Okay, so there is a small issue right here. The issue is it has to look like this. See, left column and right column. The thing is ours is looking like this, so we made a mistake in CSS styling. So we're gonna go back and check that thing out. So where is the mistake? So section right column, so section hashtag left column, and we have cleared it out, and we set the float to left, and we set the width to 33%. Okay, and then we went to the right column. Oh, there it is. If you look at it, I spelled it wrong. It's RIGHT. So right column right there. Now file, save, go back to the browser, and then refresh it. Now it got the layout, but there's one issue. The issue is, see, it's aligned to the left, it has to be centered. So let's see where we went wrong. So the body, margin left to auto, margin right to auto, 960 by 640. So what's happening right here is, I think we have to go to that home pc underscore home.html file and see pc underscore home.html, and remember the CSS is doing top to bottom, and copy Control X, cut that line and paste that line. That should be the last line for linking. So that CSS file should be the last line. Okay, so if I do that, and then if I go to file and save it, then open the browser and refresh it, now it's centered everything. So now we are on the right track. So now everything is centered. There's a left column and right column which is set, so should be good. Now we're gonna move on. Now to increase the left column padding, we're gonna assign some padding to the left column. So I'm gonna open up pc underscore home.css, and I'm gonna go to left column section, left column right there, right under float left. I'm gonna create a new rule for padding. So the padding would be 1.5 em, and then file, save to change that CSS, and then we're going to go back to pc home.html and refresh it. Now it added padding to the left, but once we added padding, you see everything got jumbled around, because now we have to set the box sizing to set everything in order. Okay, to bring the old layout back, because it exceeded the 33% width which we configured for minimum width and maximum width, Now we have to do some configuration for box sizing. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to PC underscore reset this time. Go right click under PC and reset, edit with notepad plus plus. It's gonna bring up PC underscore reset.css, and right here you're gonna select address, article, these tags under typographical tags. Right after the vertical alignment, we're gonna set some WebKit. Remember, this is the browser's set controls for styling, and we're gonna use WebKit box dash sizing, and we're gonna use border box. You know border box, so it's gonna take the width as that includes both the padding and the border. So we're gonna set that to border box, and then we're gonna set Mozilla. We're gonna do the same thing for Mozilla, but you're gonna use Mozilla basically WebKit to set the box sizing. So box sizing, and we're gonna set it to border box, border dash box actually, and then we're gonna set the default box sizing for any other browser. So box sizing becomes border box, border dash b border box. Okay, now I'm gonna click file and save. Okay, now if you go back to PC home and refresh, see everything back in order right now. Now we're gonna configure some more layouts. So we're gonna go back to PC.home, PC underscore home dot CSS right there, and we're gonna set some footers. So we're gonna go to footer style section, and we're gonna open up a footer rule. So footer, open curly braces, close curly braces. We're gonna type clear left, and then we're gonna use footer, type nav dot vertical navigation, vertical, that's the class name which we can use, vertical navigation class. So we can use contextual pattern to select it now, and then we're gonna float it to left, and then we're gonna make a width of 34% for that, 34%. So now let's check the spelling, verticalnavigation, float left, and sorry, the width should be 22%, not 34% for footer. And then we're gonna select we're gonna use another contextual pattern to select footer section this time for contact info. Footer section element with an ID, which means hashtag, contact info, open curly braces, close curly braces, and again we're going to set the float to this, to left, and then width should be 34%. Okay, now file, save to save it. And now let's see pchome.html. Okay, so before the footer looked like this, see, it's just one after the other. Now we set every section in this to float left. Okay, so when I refresh it, see, now everything is floated to left. Now it looks nice and clean. So we are good with footer right now, so we're going to continue. Now we have to set the footer background this time. So in order to do that, we're going to go back to this footer, right before clear left. We're going to set the background color to RGB. We are going to use RGB coloring, and we're going to use 71 comma 52 comma 29 semicolon to close it, file and save. And then we're gonna go back to the browser, refresh it. Oops, the background color didn't got applied. So let's look at what's wrong we did here. So we did 71, so RGB background color RGB 71 52 29, 71 52 29. Let's put a space like that. File, save, go back and refresh. Okay, still didn't work, so we have to troubleshoot it right now. It has to be a dark gray color, so I'm going to go to inspect, select this, and I'm going to select the whole footer and see what's happening. I'm just troubleshooting it right now, guys. Section ID, contact info, here is the footer, there it is. So that's the background color which I set. And okay, so navigation list, vertical navigation. Sorry guys, I'm just troubleshooting it right now. Okay, you know why it isn't working? Remember the concept of container collapse? We created float left elements, but we didn't put those float left elements inside that container tab, so that's why the container right now, the footer container, is collapsed. That's why it's not showing the background color. So we are good here, but we have to configure some more changes to make that footer work. Okay, so in order to make that footer background, the container, to expand, what you can do is you have to configure footer colon after, and in there we're going to clear both. So what it does is it's going to create a new row if there is any floating elements. Clear both, and then we're going to put some content, a blank content tag, and then we're going to put display table. Okay, now file, if I save it now go back and refresh it. Oops, it's still collapsed. So let's see. I think I put an extra quote right there, so I'm going to remove that quote, and then I'm going to go file, save, go back to the browser and refresh it. Now if you see, the background color got applied because now all the float elements were put it inside the container. Okay, so now we're going to continue. So now we're going to create some grid views. Okay, so this time we're gonna use the editor to open pc underscore about underscore txt.html. So I'm gonna open the file explorer, go to starting files, pc underscore about.html, right click and edit with notepad++. Okay, it's gonna open up the HTML file like this. See, everything is already pre-populated for you right there, the linkage tags and everything. So now below the closing of header tag, insert a div element for div class equals to row. So before the closing of header tag, which is right here, we're gonna insert an element. Again guys, this pc underscore about.html. Okay, so I'm gonna use div class equals to row. Okay, and I'm close the div tag right here. Okay, so now we're going to insert some columns into this. So I'm going to put some tab indentation. So we're going to create a div class equals to column 2-3. So col dash 2 dash 2 dash 2-3, and then we're going to close this column. Now inside this div tag, we are creating nested div tags. If you observe carefully, we're going to create another div class with a row. Div class equals to row, and then we're going to close this div tag. Now inside this div tag again, we're going to create two columns. So we're going to use div class equals to col dash 1 dash 2, and then we're going to close this div tag, and I'm going to copy this and then paste it. So we created two columns essentially by doing this. Okay, now we're gonna copy this, the whole row, copy that, okay, and we're gonna paste it. So now we created a row which ends there. Inside it we created a column which ends there, and we created two new rows inside that column which we created. Okay, so that's what we did basically. Okay, and then we're gonna copy that right under the row, and before the closure of the last div tag right there, enter and paste it there, because we're going to create another column inside it. So it's like a column, it's a row right there that ends there, and we created a column, div column 2 3 right there, and then we created two rows under the column, and we created another blank column right there. Okay, so that's what we did. Now finally we're going to insert another blank row right after that. So what we're going to do is enter, and we're going to put div class equals to row, and then we're going to close the div tag right there. Okay, I'm going to file and save it. So you can take some time to review the code. I just put it right here, so I opened up a div tag right there, closed it, and at the end I created a new div class. Okay, now we're going to save the changes. File, click on save to save the changes. Now we're gonna do some styling for this. So for this you can open the file again, guys. I'm telling you again, I'm not going to tell you for every HTML file. Please fill this comment block up with actual name and date. Okay, so I'm going to go to starting files. This time I'm going to open up pc underscore grids.css, edit with notepad++. So we're going to configure some styling over here. Okay, so now we're going to do some grid styling. So within the grid row style section, grid row styles, so I'm just looking for that. So grid styles for nested grid, this is the grid style section for body. There is no grid row style section. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use grid styles for nested grid right here. Right below this section we're gonna put div dot row, open and close curly braces. Just want to confirm one thing, I'm editing the right style sheet. Yeah, pc underscore grids, so I'm editing the right style sheet. Okay, so div dot row, and we're going to clear both. So it's going to create a new row. Even though if there is a floated item somewhere, it's going to create a new row instead of floating everything to the left. Okay, now we're going to create a div dot row, which is a class name, and we're going to use pseudo element after, open curly braces, close curly braces, and we're going to clear both. So even though there's a float element, it's going to create a new row, and then we're going to use content blank content, and then we're going to display it as table. Okay, now I'm going to file, save it. So now within the grid column style section we're going to insert another style row. So grid, so that means right below this we're going to use some contextual pattern. So div square brackets, we're going to use a class caret equals to column sorry guys, hyphen. So everything should be in double quotes, the column dash should be in double quotes, and then open curly brace. Again, this is a contextual pattern selector which we are selecting it based on the content or the class name initials. So if you want more information you can refer to the previous tutorials on this. So we're going to float to left. Okay, whenever it matches that contextual pattern we're going to float that element to left. Okay, I'm going to go file and save it. Now we're going to set some div column 1 properties. So enter. We're gonna go to a new line and we're gonna type div dot column CYL dash 1 dash 1, and we're gonna set the width to 100%. Of course I have to semicolon to close it. Now I'm going to create another div dot CYL dash 1 dash 2, and I'm going to set the width for that to be 50%, and div dot column dash 1 dash 3, I'm going to set the width of it to 33.33%. I think you're getting what I'm doing. If I want only one column, then I'm setting that column width to be 100%. If I want two columns in a row, so I'm setting each column width to be 50%. If I want three columns in one row, I'm setting it to 33.33%. Okay, I'm just setting up the column widths based on the class names. Okay, div dot col dot dash 2 dash 3, and I'm setting the width for that to be 66.67%, and then div dot col dash 1 dash 4. Now I'm setting the width width. I'm setting the width to 25% for that, and there is another div dot column dash 3 dash 4. Now I'm setting up the width for that to be 75%. Okay, now I'm going to click on file and I'm going to save the style sheet. Okay, now we're going to go to pcabout.html right now. Okay, before going there, I'm just gonna go back to the browser and just check it. We didn't made any changes to that. I'm just refreshing it to see everything is okay. Now everything is okay right now. So now once we set all the stylings for the grids, now we're gonna insert some page content into the grid in pc underscore about.html. So we're gonna go to pc underscore about.html. Okay, right there. Oops, I put something. Control C. So right there. Now directly after opening div class row, okay, right after the header close section, so this is where it's closed. So here we're gonna open a div class row. So right there I'm gonna copy that, right click copy, and I'm gonna post it right after the header section. Okay, now inside this I'm gonna put an heading, so h1 slash h1. So inside this I'm gonna put about Pandaisia chocolates, chocolates, chocolates. Okay, I'm going to click file and save it. Okay, next we will insert a text for the left column of the second flow of grid. So now right after this, we're going to create another div row. Okay, before creating a div row, let's execute pc underscore about.html. Okay, so if you execute that, it's going to display it like this. Right now we're going to configure everything in a grid format. Okay, that's what we are trying to do. Okay, this is pc underscore about.html. so this is what we configure right now. See about Pandaisia chocolates. So now I'm going to go back to pc underscore about.html. Okay, right below this, okay, I'm going to configure div, another div tag. Basically I'm going to copy that. Okay, I'm going to paste it right down there. Okay, inside this row I'm going to create a div tag with class equals to column dash 2 dash 3. Okay, so we created a column, and then I'm going to close that column div slash div. Okay, so now inside this we gonna configure, I'm gonna copy everything from here, so our company, okay, to all the way down there, so up to here. Okay, I'm gonna right click, cut. Okay, and I'm gonna paste it inside that column which I just created now, right there, like that. Okay, from h1 I'm gonna use h2 instead of h1. Okay, now we're gonna do a nested div row. So this is where the row closes. So inside this row we're gonna create another div class equals to row, and we're gonna close the row right here, slash div, and then first we're gonna create an h2 heading. Oops, h2, and then slash h2 heading. And for this h2 heading we're gonna copy this about chocolate, control X, and then I'm gonna paste that over there. Okay, now right below the h2 we're gonna configure some columns. Okay, so this time we're gonna configure div. Oops, I think I made it a full screen, guys. So we're gonna use a div class equals to col dash 1 dash 2, and then we're gonna close the div tag, slash div, and inside this div tag, inside this column tag, we're gonna paste, I'm gonna copy this h1 enjoying chocolate. Okay, I'm gonna copy that, actually cut it so we avoid confusion. And then inside this column tag which I just created right below the about chocolate, I'm gonna paste that column over there, and I'm gonna make these h1 tags to h2, h3 actually. Okay, I'm gonna click on file, save. So to avoid confusion I'm gonna remove this article tags which I have no use for right now. Okay, so I used up this article tag, that's out of use right now. So now we created a row which has this. Now right after this column right here I'm going to create another div tag, div class equals to column dash 1 dash 2, now slash div. So inside this column I'm gonna paste the healthy chocolate, so I'm gonna copy that, right click, actually should right click, cut, and then I'm gonna right click there and paste it. Okay, and then I'm gonna make this as h3. Okay, now I'm going to create another div row which ends right there. So I'm going to create another div row. So div class equals to, so again guys you need a textbook for this. I'm just use this video just as an refer back kind of an example. So again I'm going to create a div row. I'm using nested grid right now, so that's why it's kind of a confusion right now. So if you take that, this is the first row which I created, and inside that row I created another one column right there. So that column ended right there, and then I created another row inside a row, and then this row has two columns, and this is another row which I'm creating with another two columns inside it. Okay, so we have a div now, and then I'm gonna put class. So I'm just gonna copy this because this is what I'm using, control C, and I'm gonna paste that column right there. And for this we can use single origin, this one, so I'm gonna copy that, control X, and then I'm gonna paste it right over here, control V. I'm gonna make this h1s to h3s. Okay, now so I opened it there, closed it there, Actually, I opened the div column right here, and I have to close it, slash div. Now I'm going to create one more column inside that row, so control B, and then I'm going to close it, slash div, and inside this I'm going to put these h1 tags. With that, control C or right click, cut, and I'm going to paste that right there. Okay, I'm going to click on file, save. So I have to change this to h3. Okay, now file and save. Now remember, we created a column right there. Where is the first row which we created? So this is the first row which we created, and then we created a column for that. Okay, so this is the first row which we created. Now this is the first row which we created, and then inside it we created a column 2 3, and then we created a row right there. Okay, so this is the row about the chocolates, and that ended there with two columns, and we created a row and it has two columns inside it, and we ended a div tag which has a main row right there. Okay, so in between that we're going to create another column. Okay, so we're going to, in this column we're going to put FAQs, frequently asked questions. Okay, so I'm going to create a div class equals to column dash 1 dash 3. Okay, and then slash div. So inside this div tag we're gonna create an aside element, or we can use the, we can copy. Actually, I'm going to remove this so to avoid confusion. So see this aside which got closed right there, copy everything, right click, cut, and I'm going to paste everything right there. Okay, so once you do that, so that's you created a column and you put everything inside that column right now. Okay, so now we made a grid right now with two columns and nested grids inside them. So now we're going to do something with the footer. Okay, so go to the last grid row and insert the HTML code between footer. So this is the footer, and HTML code copy 2021, all rights reserved, and the last row in the grid. So that means we're going to create a div class equals to row, and this footer tag should be inside it, and then we're going to close the div tag. Okay, so that's called last grid row. Now scroll down to the top of the document. So we're going to scroll up all the way, and first we have to save it, file, save. We're going to scroll all the way up, and please make sure you have reset.css, pc grids, and styles2.css linkage ref tags. And then once we save this, which we did, file, save, and we go back to the browser, and this is the about.html. We refresh it. Now even though it created the grid, but it doesn't, has right padding and everything, so it looks kind of funky kind of a layout. So let's fix this. So sorry, so I think we created a wrong div column somewhere, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to check right now. So if you check this thing, so there is a div row which we started with, and there is a column, it's ending right away. We don't want that, so we have to cut that slash div. Okay, and then we have to see where the last div tag starts. Okay, right below this, right above it, here we're going to close it. So the column div is going to close right there. So that's the start, and that's where it's going to close. You're going to click file and save to save the div, and then I'm going to go down to the browser and refresh it, and now everything is properly adjusted. And don't worry about the padding and background colors, we're not going to set them up right now, but as long as you can get this grid working, you're good. Okay, so that's what it is. Now let's continue. So now we're going to outline the grid. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the CSS file, which is pc_grids.css, and here we're going to configure a style rule for all the div tags, so which is div, and for that we're going to create an outline of 1 pix solid red border. Okay, now I'm going to click on file and save. So again, that's the pc underscore grids.css. Okay, once I do that, I can go back to the browser right there, refresh it. Now you see there is a border for the grids, so that's what we try to achieve, and that's what we achieved right now. So that should be good. So now we're gonna move on. So now we're gonna do some positioning styling on this. So for this, we're gonna open up another HTML file called PC info HTML. So I'm gonna go back to starting files. I'm gonna go to PC info, right click, edit with Notepad++. Again, fill these things up. I'm not gonna tell for every presentation or every web page I'm editing. So please fill this command block up. Okay. So now, if you look at here, we are missing some link href tags. So we have to add some link href tags right here. So link href equals to the first thing we're gonna add. Actually, instead of adding it, you know what you can do? You can go to the PC about.html actually, and then copy the PC reset link href. Right click, copy, go to PC info, and paste it right there. So I'm going to copy this same link href again, enter. I'm going to paste it here. For here, I'm going to make this PC underscore style 3.css, and I'm going to copy the whole thing, and I'm going to create a new line, paste it, and this I'm going to make it PC underscore info.css. So once these three style sheets are linked, click on file and save it. Now we saved these style sheets. Now we're gonna edit some styling on PC info.css. So we're gonna go to starter files, and you're gonna right click on PC info.css. So I'm trying to find the PC info right there. Right click, edit with Notepad++. Again, fill the information up for the comment block. And now we're gonna create some styling for this. So now go to the main style section right there, and we're gonna create main, and we're gonna create a style position relative. You might not get this position styling because if you are viewing this lecture earlier, or if the assignment 3 earlier than tutorial 3 part 2, but please watch the tutorial 3 part 2 to get the outline on positioning layout. So position relative and height is 1400 pix, and then I'm gonna set the width of this to 100%. Okay, now directly before the main style section, we're gonna insert another style role. So right before that, before the main, we're gonna put div, which is division tag dot info, division tag with the info class, again pattern selection, info box class, sorry, and then we're gonna make the display none for that. Okay, now once you do this, now we're gonna go to some infographic styles. So before doing any name or styling, I'm click file, save. I'm gonna go to the starter files. I'm gonna run pcinfo.html. If I run it right now, this is how it looks. Okay, now we are trying to configure some appearance to this. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to pcinfo.css. Now we're gonna do some infographic styling. So div under infographic styles section, div info box, open and close curly braces, and we're gonna set the position to absolute. Okay, ABSOLUTE. Now we're gonna go to first infographic, and we're gonna select div with ID, which means hashtag info1, open curly braces, close curly braces, and I'm going to put display block, and I'm going to put a top margin of 20 pix, and I'm going to put a left margin of 5%. and then of course I'm going to go to file and save. Now once I save this thing, and I'm going to go back to the browser, and I'm going to refresh it and see the changes right now. It overlapped the image on top of each other, so we have to configure more CSS to configure it properly. Okay, so now we're gonna add info 2. So what I'm gonna do is go to second infographic right there. I'm gonna select div hashtag info 2 open curly braces close curly braces, and again I'm going to display it as block, display as block level element, and I'm going to put the top to 185 pixels, and I'm going to set the left to 42%. Okay, I'm going to file, save, and I'm going to do some infographic on 3.2. So what I'm going to do is, the easiest way is to copy that, and oops, screwed it up. So I'm going to right click, copy that, and I'm going to go to the third infographic and paste the same thing, and instead of 185 pixels for third, that becomes 135, and the left becomes 75%. Okay, and then I'm going to click on file, save, and then we're going to configure fourth infographic. Right click, I'm going to do the same thing, paste, and this 185 pixels becomes 510, and this left becomes 8%. So from top it will keep a margin for 510 pixels, and from left it's going to create 8% margin. See, the images are lying on top of each other, so what I'm doing is I'm giving space between each image using top margin, and I'm also giving space between each image using left margin. So that's what I'm doing in a nutshell. Okay, so 8%, and then this should be info 3, sorry, the before one, and this should be info 4, and 510 pixels left. And then again I'm going to copy this, and then in the fifth infographic, which I pasted it right here, I'm going to make that info 5 first things first, and the top margin would become 800 pixels, and the left margin would become 3%. Okay, now I'm going to copy the same thing, go to the sixth one, paste it, and then the top margin becomes 600 pixels, and the left one becomes 48%, and then this info 5 becomes info 6. Now I'm going to copy this again, go to the seventh infographic, paste it there, and then the top margin becomes 1000 pixels, and the left one becomes 68%, and this becomes 7, and I'm going to copy that, go to the eighth one, right click, paste, and info 8, and 1000 becomes 1100 pixels, and 68% becomes 12% here. Okay, now I'm going to click file and save. Okay, now I'm going to reload pcinfo.html. Okay, now once I reloaded it, now you can see what happened, but the main thing that's missing is the main style sheet linking. Okay, it didn't got the style sheet linking properly, so I'm going to go back to PC info.html, and let's see where it's going wrong here. Okay, so we connected all the three styles, PC info, which is right there, and we connected PC underscore style 3.css, and we connected PC underscore reset.css. So let's go to PC underscore style 3.css. Okay, so it has a background colors and everything right there, infographic. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and let's see, link href PC underscore style 3 styles 3. So that's my mistake, guys. So it's not style 3, it's styles 3. File and save, go back to the browser here and refresh. Okay, so now everything is in order. Okay, so that's it. So That's it for this assignment. What you're gonna do is you're gonna zip the files and submit it. Okay. Actually, you know what? There's one more thing to configure. I completely forgot about it. We're gonna configure the overflow property for info.css. So we're gonna go to the mains. We're gonna go to PC info.css right here. We're gonna go to the main section, which is right there, and we're gonna configure the overflow property right here. So we're gonna put overflow to auto. Okay, this is the last property which we're gonna configure. Okay, and click file and save. Okay, now we configured the overflow property. More on it you will find it on the next feature lecture, tutorial 3 part 2, but that's the basic assignment 5. Okay, click on file, click save, and close the notepad++, go to web 110 folder which where you created, right click, send to compressed zip folder, and then put your name. So I'm going to put my name here, and I'm going to name it as assignment 5. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the blackboard, click on 5, click on browse local files, and browse through the file which you created right here. Just double click it. Oops, I think I selected the wrong file. So right there, select that file and then click submit to submit your assignments. That's it. Okay, good luck.